So here we go. Good afternoon, actually, good evening, parents and families. It's so good to have you here. Thank you for joining us this evening for another question and answer session with parents. I am recording this session, including all questions in the chat. If everyone could mute themselves just to make sure there's no background noise. I see a couple people not muted. If you could go ahead and mute yourselves, I would appreciate it. And if you could stay muted throughout the session, that'd be great. You can use the chat to put any questions you want in there. If I finish early with me answering the questions already submitted, we'll go to the chat and start answering the questions that are there for you. Also, I just spoke to some of the PTA officers because I wanted to offer what I'll plan to do going forward, because we have 3 weeks until school opens on February 8th. I can't believe it's close already, and we just started last week. So it's kind of hurry and go right now. And I know you're going to have more questions leading up to the first day on February 8th. So I am going to put out a link, and every Tuesday for the next 3 Tuesdays through the second, the first, second. Between now and that first Tuesday of February, I'm going to open to a question and answer session for parents every week. And I want to do that because, again, you're going to have more questions coming up over the next few weeks. And I am literally getting new information every day. I just got new information an hour ago. So the more I can update families and answer your questions leading up to it, I think the better prepared we'll all feel when those doors open, because of course we want our babies to be safe, secure, and happy. And then that will help make the best environment for this very new way of learning now. So with that, I just wanted to bring up a couple of things that we're going to be discussing tonight. I'm going to start with just some general information, and then I'm going to go into the questions that you all submitted. So the first thing I'd like to bring up is that the district is about to mail out, I believe later this week, to every single family in the district, a parent handbook. Now, I provided this handbook to the PTA officers, I believe late last week or yesterday, and they forwarded it out through the PTA email addresses. So that guide is published on the district website. It's a great go-to guide for, some of the more popular questions parents are asking around reopening. What about testing? What about social distancing, mask wearing, sanitation? All of those issues that we're concerned about when it comes to our children's safety and health, as well as our staff. So that particular handbook, the superintendent is having the district mail out to all families across the district. So you will be receiving soon a packet, most likely, that has this large parent guide, which I will share with you in bits today, as well as a consent to test form. Now, when those of you who, and that will only be for hybrid students. So those of you that selected hybrid, we'll talk about testing requirements, COVID testing requirements in schools a little bit later. But in order to consent to test, we asked you all up front, would you consent to testing? And we recorded your yes or no. But we are going to now have to send a form to all hybrid parents so that if you still want to consent to testing or you've changed your mind from no to yes, we will need you to actually fill out and sign that form and return it to the school. Otherwise, we will not be able to include your child in our testing, which again, I'll talk about a little bit later. So you can expect fairly soon. I can't tell you a specific date because the dates move in this district, all the time due to just circumstances outside everyone's control. So with that, please look out in your mailboxes. Make sure your mailing addresses are up to date, as well as your phone numbers, because we're going to be sending robocalls. So if there's anything you're worried may not be the same in the system, if you've moved recently or you have a new phone number or a new phone, please contact the school. Just call the main office at 473-5099. and tell them your new information so we can update it in the system. That way I can make sure you are all receiving the same communication at the same time. So that's a big one. And I'll show you again a little bit of that parent handbook today so you can see what it looks like and what to expect. The first thing I wanted to tell you about a big change that's going to happen for our kids is that our bell time, our beginning and ending school day times are going to change. So before this school year began remote and hybrid, we had initially planned to open as usual, right? Before schools were closed and partly closed and so on. So our initial schedule, which last year was 7:30 to 3 o'clock p.m., changed from 7:30 to 2 o'clock p.m. because our expanded learning day grant was not continued by the district. So our hours for this year should be 7:30 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. However, to make everything consistent for the district in a fully remote environment, the district decided all schools to start the year would be a 9 o'clock to 3:30 timeframe. And that's what all of our schedules have been based on. Kids don't start till 9 and they end at 3:30. On February 8th, that will change. We will be going back to our regular bell schedule of 7:30 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. This is going to be a huge, drastic change for our kids and our families because your children have to get up much earlier now. And they have to be ready to engage at 7:30 in the morning. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that'll look like when they come into the building and breakfast and lunch and whatnot. But even remote learners will have to be up at 7:30 for class. So all hybrid and remote learning will be 7:30 to 2 o'clock. Now that changes all of the in-class schedules. So you all receive schedules at the start of the year of what the day looks like, what time frame to what time frame kids had synchronous online learning and asynchronous off-time learning. You are going to receive a new one for your child directly from the school. Which will tell you from 7:30 to 2 o'clock exactly what your child is doing throughout the day at what time. And it will look differently. Right now, the remote learning schedule is such that you have 30 minutes online, 30 minutes offline, 30 minutes on, and kind of back and forth with lots of breaks scheduled throughout the day. In order to maximize time of instruction, knowing that now we'll have kids full day on Mondays and Tuesdays for hybrid, we want remote kids to have the exact same option, or not option, experience. And so there's a lot to tell you about that, but basically the schedule will be so that all hybrid students will report to school on Mondays and Tuesdays. As of right now, that is confirmed and ready to go forward. But again, I just plan for every contingency that anything can change at the last minute. But as of right now, we are slated for all hybrid learners to only be in school on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Thursdays and Fridays, all students, hybrid and remote, will be fully remote learning like they are right now, just on a different schedule. So the only time remote learners and hybrid learners are not in the same kind of box together is Monday, Tuesday. However, we are going to be doing something that you'll hear called a couple different things: concurrent learning or simultaneous learning or live stream learning. There's a lot of little phrases being used. What that basically means is while students that are hybrid are in school, in the classroom, sitting in front of the teacher will be on their computer live streaming to all of the remote learners in their classroom. So all kids will have the same teacher. Our numbers were low enough that we were able to accommodate that kids could have the same teacher because the most kids we have in any class returning is 11. If we were above 12 for any classroom, we wouldn't be able to accommodate all kids staying with the same teacher. So it worked out really well. So those of you that had concerns about making sure your child had the same teacher, that is the case. You will have the same teacher at this time. So with that, we are going to be having remote learners and hybrid learners in every class learning at the exact same time, everything that they're supposed to. So the teacher will be live streaming to all of the students at home with the computer in front of him or her looking at the kids on the Zoom while they're looking at their whole class in person as well. So all of the kids in person and all of the kids at home will be getting the same instruction at the same time. Now, this is brand new to all of my staff. including myself. And so the district has set up an assortment of workshops that our teachers and staff will be attending every Wednesday up until school starts beginning tomorrow morning, all about how do you teach remote and online, remote and hybrid students simultaneously during the day. And so we're going to learn all about that because we have ideas in our head of course, how it could work, but we're really excited to hear from our content directors, from our instructional technology department of how do you make something like this happen. So we're very invigorated about getting started, and that begins tomorrow for teachers, so that by the time we start school on Monday, February 8th, the teachers know exactly what to do to be able to teach all the remote students in their class at the same time as the students in front of them in hybrid. So that's exciting because you'll remember back in August, the plan was 2 days in person and 3 days fully remote asynchronous without the teacher while they taught more kids Thursday, Friday. We are blessed in that we can service all hybrid students just on Monday, Tuesday. So Monday, Tuesday will be this concurrent or simultaneous or live stream time with both remote learners and hybrid students in the same class learning together. And then Thursday and Friday will be fully remote at home for all students in that class, just like they do now. All 20 whatever students will be home on their computers, working with the teacher that way, following the new schedule. Wednesdays will continue to be fully asynchronous for all students as they are right now, with office hours being provided for students to reach out to the teacher and ask questions or clarification on assignments. So one more time, just real quick, Monday and Tuesday will be hybrid students in school. Those are the only days hybrid students will come to school. At that 2 days, on those 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, the hybrid kids in school sitting in front of the teacher will be learning simultaneously live streaming with the students in their class that are remote. So no kids lose out, no kids, all kids get their same teacher and all kids get the same learning at the same time. We are blessed in that our kindergarten through third grade classrooms that don't already have 2 teachers in them, we will be utilizing many of our support staff, our instructional coaches, ESL teacher, resource teachers, consultant teachers, pushing into the gen ed classes to support the students, because we know that at the kindergarten through third grade level, our kids need more support. They're a little less independent at that time. So the district has stated that we are going to have those supports primarily at the kindergarten through third grade levels. 4th, 5th, and 6th grade will not necessarily have a lot of outside support pushing in other than what they already receive. So those services will continue. But honestly, the district believes, and I do too, after everything we've seen and in my observations this year, our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students are really flying. Even though this is not the ideal setting or situation for learning, our kids have done a wonderful job of engaging and figuring out a way to learn in this manner. So that's a kudos to all the teachers, all of you parents for working with your children while they're at home. I know it's a big job. All of us have our own kids, and so there's a lot that we can understand and appreciate. So that's how the year or the rest of the year will go. So that's our new model. I will go into more detail about that probably next Tuesday. So for those parents that just joined, I just want to let you know that I'm going to hold a 1-hour Q&A session like I am tonight every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 up until the first week of school. So our last session would be February 2nd, Tuesday, February 2nd. So that means 3 more meetings I will meet with parents. So you'll be able to submit any questions you have to the PTA through the PTA email. They'll forward it to me, and then I will look at them on Tuesdays, get the answers prepared, share them as I am now, record the sessions so that they can be provided. And then, and if there's time at the end, we'll do an open Q&A. Otherwise, I will just be taking all the questions in the chat and answering them and making sure you get those answers that week or the following Tuesday. So that's where we are with generalities regarding our back to school time. I do want to bring up a couple of other things. Again, with this parent handbook that was sent out, and again, it will be mailed out. There's so much in there that'll help you answer a lot of questions you have about procedures and such. But we will also be sending out or posting soon our building reopening plan for February. Right now, the reopening plan that the district has on their site is the one we created in August for a very different type of model. This plan that we're refashioning is specifically to a hybrid and fully remote model, which was not an option in August. So that will include specifics regarding arrival and dismissal procedures, walkers, bus riders, car riders. It'll include mass breaks, breakfast and lunch, all of those things, playground or recess access, all of those questions. If there's time today, I will start addressing those today. But again, those might be questions you want to submit every week, new things you want to know about what the day will really look like. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into the questions that were asked, and then I will go back and share with you all this extra information that I've learned recently that might help you move forward. So before I begin, I just do want to share this. This is what, and I apologize, it's so big. I don't think I can really make it too much smaller. This is what the back to school guide for RCSD families looks like. Again, the PTA officers did send this out by email to the PTA, and this will be mailed home from the district within the next week or two. This goes through how to prepare for the school day, what you should do at home about doing your own temperature checks and asking yourself certain questions before you send your child to school to determine if they should come to school. So these are some questions that'll help guide you. We are currently in the orange zone, which I'll address in a little bit. What does that mean for our school in regards to testing? They talk about face coverings and masks and what the expectations are, what the riding the bus is going to look like, what social distancing in the classroom and the school will look like. When you arrive at school, what's going to happen the minute they walk into the door with temperature checks and things of that nature. It also talks about hand washing and hand sanitizer use. What happens if a staff member becomes ill at school with COVID-19 symptoms? What meals at the school will look like? What happens if a student or staff member tests positive for COVID-19 and they have recently been at school? Cleaning and disinfecting the school buildings, and the no visitor policy. We are asking that parents do not visit the school at this time because we are, of course, trying to limit all extra people into the school, but we will talk about that more probably in the next few weeks about how we can service you because parents will not be allowed into the main building. There is a possibility as we get closer to the year that we might be able to have parents through appointments come into the main office through the main entrance to drop off forms that they've signed or things like that. So we'll have more information once I get more guidance about that later. So that's a really useful document. I really recommend that everyone take a look at that if you haven't already or when it arrives at your home. So with that, we're going to get started on our questions. The first question, how will remote students join specials? For art and music, will there be a way to pick up supplies so they're having as much of a comparable experience to their in-person peers as possible? So remote students will continue to use their current Zoom link to attend specials during the day. This is because all specials teachers have to travel to the students' classrooms. Students will not be leaving the classrooms to go to the gym, the art room, or the music room. Those teachers will travel to the classroom. Since they will be in the classroom, they will do exactly what the classroom teacher does. They will log into Zoom and be teaching simultaneously, kind of like they do right now, with kids sitting in front of them or standing in front of them doing what they need to do, and students at home doing it along with their in-person peers. So again, it's this idea of simultaneous or concurrent instruction where all the kids are being taught at the same time, so no kids are missing out. We will arrange a parent pickup event of any new materials students will need for the third marking period that first week of February. So probably that Wednesday, Thursday, and or Friday. The more information will come out closer to that date, hopefully at least 2 weeks in advance for you. And that will give you a chance to pick up any new workbooks your children will need over the next 10 weeks, or packets, or art supplies for the kids that will be starting art the third quarter, and so on. So yes, students will have a chance to pick up art supplies and have specials, remote or hybrid, simultaneously. Another question was, and this just came out from the district, which was so interesting that this question was asked. It was perfect. If there is a snow day, will the in-person kids join virtually, or will it be a snow day for both groups, remote and in person? The district has announced that if a snow day is announced, there is no real snow day. All students and staff will not have the day off. Everyone will just work remotely that day. So if a snow day is called on Monday or Tuesday, school continues, but everyone stays home and the teacher just does fully remote learning for their entire class. So gone on our wonderful snow days with the day off. With all the learning that's kind of been missed over the last 2 quarters, I think the superintendent's trying to make sure we maximize time with students and instruction. Now that we can do instruction in the home in a remote environment, it makes sense that we continue to do that even if it's a snow day. So that is what will happen there. Will the walkers be allowed to play on the playground after school wearing masks? Once the day ends, it's up to parents and their children to determine if they can stay and play on the playground. Masks should be worn, of course, because especially now, we just want to be sure our kids are safe at all times. The school day ends at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock is when the walkers and the walkers will be released. At that time, all of the bus riders should have been picked up. And so there's less chance of kids, convening together in large groups. So with that, really that's a parent decision. But at the end of the school day after 2 o'clock, it would be just like it is now. I come outside of the school to the parking lot at 3:30, 4:30, and there are kids on the playground. It's a public park when we're not in school. So another one was, one of my big questions is how the school is imagining the psychological impact of having had almost 12 months of no school and reintegrating into a normal school day. I am hoping there is a school-wide plan to help students make this adjustment and also work through what is possibly a very traumatic last several months. Agreed. We are all very concerned about making sure the students who are returning to school and the students that are now fully remote, that are going to see, that their friends are in school, how is that going to impact our children? So the district is providing over these next few weeks, as I mentioned earlier, about professional development for staff. It will also be focusing on social emotional learning. What are some supports and strategies to help students transition back into the school environment, and for remote kids to be able to now navigate with this new type of setting on their end? So our master schedule will include 30 minutes of social emotional learning each morning, direct instruction. That would be our second step curriculum that our teachers have been using all year so far. And we purchased that in partnership with the Whole Child Health Network and Greater Rochester Health Foundation, who are our partners. They purchased the materials for us, and we have been using it, and we're super excited about it. It's been wonderful to help our kids just learn about how to listen, how to be friends, how to deal with conflict. So we're really excited about it. We also have a wonderful school-based social emotional team that meets weekly and works with staff to determine any students that teachers feel may need some extra supports around this transition back to school, but just anything. If they notice anything about a child feeling nervous or anxious or scared or sad, we immediately go into next steps about our support staff members from the social emotional team finding time to engage with that student remotely or socially distanced in the hybrid learning environment to provide any support that that child needs and connect with the families about what they're seeing so that you're fully involved so we can make sure we're doing what's best for the kids. In addition, so that first week of school, the week, Monday, Tuesday, when kids are in hybrid and kids are remote, the teachers are going to spend a lot of time working on rituals and routines to get kids used to the structure of an in-person school day, and the kids at home learning remotely to get used to the new structure of this new scheduled day. So there's going to be a lot of time trying to establish rituals and routines and explaining and demonstrating and practicing safety procedures such as mask wearing, social distancing, and washing hands to help them be comfortable in this new learning environment. Because this could be scary for some of our kids coming back with everything they've heard over the last 11, 12 months almost by then. You know, it could be very nerve-wracking for some of our children. Others may come in and they're woo-woo, let's go, but we have to be sure to meet all kids' needs. So we will be on the lookout, and our team is doing a fantastic job already to help our children that teachers or parents have notified us that they have concerns about, and we will continue to move forward with that. The next question is, I assume I know the answer to this, but is there any possibility that the district would consider switching to a system like in Brighton, where there are 2 days of in-person, 2 days of asynchronous, and 1 day of Zoom? So the district's current model for hybrid and remote learning will remain as it is, with Mondays and Tuesdays being kids in school for hybrid instruction and learning at the same time and simultaneously with the remote students in their class. And Thursday, Fridays, all kids are at home remote learning like they've been doing all along with their teacher. Wednesdays would remain fully asynchronous with office hours to support students. The next question, I see that many districts are struggling to keep enough staff to operate in person. How is RCSD doing on this, and how is School 23 in particular ready to address this issue? So we are fortunate in that we do have staff in the building that can help us cover for teachers who are absent. You know, there could be a whole bunch of reasons why teachers are absent. They do have personal illness days, family illness days, as well as personal days. So we should have enough staff, you know, if it's 1 or 2 at most a day, to cover those classrooms. In the case of a long-term absence of more than 5 days in a row, we would utilize the substitute system. The district has gone through all of the substitutes that they've used in the past, as well as current retirees or people that have just newly applied to become a substitute for the district. And after a thorough vetting process, they determined which substitutes were eligible, but also which substitutes were comfortable coming into a building in this current hybrid model. And so there are almost 200 substitutes ready and willing to do that. We are also very fortunate that at least one of our past substitutes that used to be a teacher in our building and has subbed there for many years, and is wonderful. She has also signed up. So we would be trying to tap into the people we've already worked with in the past that have relationships with many of the kids already in the building. Because like the parent asked earlier about social emotional health, the more the kids know the people in front of them, the more comfortable and safe they'll feel in the school. Next question, will the remote daily schedule be the same or similar with Zoom class times, the pledge, scheduled lunches and recess, etc.? So again, the schedule will revert back to what our original schedule was this summer, which you would not have had access to because we went right into a completely different schedule to start the year fully remote. You will receive shortly the new schedule from 7:30 to 2 p.m. of what your child's day is going to look like. So our bell times having changed, that is going to be every single day of the week is 7:30 to 2 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and even Wednesdays, because the office hours might change slightly just due to some specifications and changes the district has made on Wednesdays to what teachers are doing. But for the most part, office hours could be as early as 7:30 in the morning. We'll have more information to you on that as we get closer. That would probably, Wednesdays would probably be the only day where there's some wiggle room in start times for kids. But again, that Wednesday will be all offline work that kids are doing on their own through Seesaw or Google Classroom. or other platforms that your teachers are using. We will still do announcements. And for those of you that were watching this morning, I apologize. It seems as though I sent my recorded message. I sent the wrong one this morning. So I sent it later in the day, the correct one, when it was brought to my attention. So I apologize. I think it's only my first time this year when I haven't gotten an announcement out, at least within the first minute of school. So my apologies for that. But yes, announcements will still be a part of our daily routine on Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. And we do ask, since this is going to be such a big change for our kids, we have about 4 weeks to go until the 8th. This would be a great time. I know I'm working on it with my own child and other people with their own children, you know, from the staff. A great time for parents to start kind of resetting and lowering like bedtimes at night, helping their kids slowly start to get up earlier and earlier, just so that it can make that transition hopefully a little easier. It's a 1.5 hour difference. It's pretty big. So we want to be sure the kids are ready, because I think that might be a shock to the system to go from a 9 o'clock start time to 7:30 just the day before. So that's just a recommendation to help them. If you'd like some more ideas about how to better, you know, transition your child into the day, let me know. I have a wonderful visual that will come out soon with your class schedule and other things, because, or the new class schedule for February, because it's a great way to slowly, if you haven't already, show your children how to build up their stamina for wearing a mask for a very long period of time. So it starts off how to every day have them wearing masks at certain intervals of time until we can build up that capacity where kids, especially our little kids, can handle having a mask on. I will say there will be mask breaks built in during the day, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that is something that we are very cognizant of, that children cannot sit with a mask on all day. There's going to be opportunities for them to breathe and in a safe environment. So here are some other questions that came up. If we choose hybrid, but now are rethinking that, how and when can we change back to fully remote? Will there be other times when we are able to switch either from hybrid to remote or from remote to hybrid? So at this time, there's been no guidance around the future and what options might be offered to families. We're going into Q3 knowing it was the choices made in December. And yes, I know many of you are upset about kind of feeling forced into a choice, but the district at this time is using those choices because that determined how many kids were planning to be in the building, so that they could decide, do we have to do Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday, or do we have such a few amount of students we could handle it all in 2 days? And that's what happened. So we, out of a school of 301 students, we have 110 returning, about 30%, a little over 30%. So with that, the district found that the numbers were pretty consistent building to building. So that allowed them to switch to just Monday, Tuesdays being hybrid. And it allowed us now to do fully remote and hybrid student instruction at the same time. So this way, no kids are losing time. No kids are doing more asynchronous than another group. So they felt that this was the best way to go. So using those choices that parents originally made in December determined that we could do it this way. That's why there haven't been any changes from students going from remote to hybrid. Transportation's already in process. That should be completed within the next week and a half. And parents will receive, ideally, by the end of next week, their child's transportation information for buses, if that was a request. They are only honoring that for students that live beyond 1.5 miles from the school. So those families will be first and top priority. If the district decides at a later time that you'll be able to make a different selection, some of you asked, what about Q4? Anything's possible. The district has not stated that that's something that they've decided for or against. I just know that at this time, this is the route we're going with the current decisions that were made back in December. If that changes at any time, I promise you, you will be informed. I will make sure you are all informed so that you would be able to give us your new decision. Now, an issue did come up with parents across the district who have children with medical needs. and they were requesting that their child be switched from the hybrid in-person learning back to remote. So if that's the case, if you have a child who has a health concern that you're concerned about, you just need to contact the school and we can work with you from there and see what we can do for you. There will be no hybrid students going to remote. If you selected remote, they will remain remote at this time. But hybrid students in school, if there's a medical need, we can possibly accommodate you returning to full remote before the February 8th start date begins. So just call the main office if that applies to you and we will work with you. Also, somebody followed up with, if so, could this be done using written correspondence, including written confirmation, rather than relying on calls and voicemails? Certainly, we will propose that to the district as part of their process. And also we will try to do that ourselves anyway. With it being such a short turnaround, as you know, because many of you were very upset at the short turnaround, having to make a very important decision in a short time frame with little information, which we completely understand. We're hoping we'll have enough advance notice at this time that we can do that, that we can send home written correspondence, explaining what the options are and giving you hopefully more time to make that decision. So as the district provides me with information, it will be communicated to you. The next question, can we expect that those of us with multiple kids will have our kids in school on the same day? So luckily with this newer updated hybrid version, we are able to just have all hybrid students in school only on Monday, Tuesdays. Siblings, friends, they will all be in school on Monday, Tuesdays only. All kids will be remote learning with their teacher like they do now, live remote on Thursdays and Fridays. So that will continue forward. Will students have the same teacher for hybrid learning that they had for remote? So yes, we do expect at this time that all teachers will remain where they are with their current class, regardless of whether they're hybrid or remote, because we're able to do this simultaneous concurrent instruction with teachers teaching and live streaming to their remote students through Zoom and other platforms. So I will say we do have 2 staff members, 2 teachers who have accommodations to work from home and not be in school. We've already made an accommodation for that in school. So any teacher, any students in those 2 classrooms that's affected by that, we will be contacting families, if not later this week, then by early next week, to just let you know what adult staff will be in the classroom monitoring and supporting the kids, but your child, if that's your classroom, will still be learning from your classroom teacher. The reason being, when teachers are sitting with their computers teaching the remote kids, they're going to be plugged into their smart boards. The smart boards face the students in the class. So even though the teacher's teaching remotely at home, the students will see the teacher and all the other kids in remote learning from the classroom. So they'll be able to learn everything the teacher's been teaching to everybody at the same time. So we're really blessed that that is the situation. And we're grateful that no teachers ended up having to take leaves of absence or things like that. So we're really happy that we can say your child will have 99% sure the same teacher that they currently have now. And again, those teachers are also taking lots of professional development right now on Wednesdays that the district's offering for the next several weeks to make sure we can make that concurrent, simultaneous, remote and hybrid instruction happen effectively. The next question is, what safety measures are being taken? More specifically, how many kids will be in each classroom, and will they be able to maintain 6 feet of distance from each other? Great question. So the maximum number of students we currently have in any classroom at this time is 11. The district's limit is 12. So we are under that limit, which is wonderful news. And that's how we can make sure all hybrid kids have the same teacher they currently have, as well as the remote students. We don't have to, if we had 13 kids, 1 kid would have had to go to a different classroom, but we don't have that problem, which is great. We have been able to work with facilities to come into our building and help us to arrange our desks and tables that students will sit at in each classroom to ensure they are 6 feet apart all the way around. And so some students will be sitting at desks. That's mostly in most classrooms do have that. There are some classrooms where with desks, that's unable to happen. We have to use a table, or one classroom may have all tables. And what they do is, if it's a 5 or 6 foot long rectangular table, a student sits at each end facing each other with their mask on, and a large clear plexiglass kind of trifold is set up in between the students as a barrier. They'll still be 6 feet apart, so we're still maintaining the social distancing, but there's an added barrier of this clear plastic plexiglass so they can still see through the glass. They're not kind of in this little area all by themselves. They can still see the whole class through the clear plexiglass and still maintain that 6 feet of distance with masks on. So we're very blessed that they came in and worked with us, and all of our classrooms are set up and ready to go. Also, the director of facilities came back yesterday, went through the whole building with myself and our head custodian, Mr. Seward, as we finished up the last things that they asked us to do. And we were given the double thumbs up, all clear, that our school is the first one in the district for phase 2 that is ready to go. So we're really proud of our custodial staff and our teachers who came in on their own time over the vacation to clean out their rooms, do what they needed to do to arrange furniture and put things away to make sure we had a nice sterile environment for students, but still making it comfortable and welcoming. So I really kudos to everyone on the staff for their hard work, because that's very exciting. It was just announced to all principals today that 23 is the first school ready to go in phase 2 for that. And so we're very proud, and we hope you will be too. What is the school district's policy for teachers, staff, and students that test positive? Who will be required to quarantine? And what is that student and staff testing policy? Will students and staff be required to test negative before coming to school? So in that parent handbook that I shared at the beginning, there is a lot of information directly in there. But there is one piece of information in the handbook that has changed, and that has to do with we are currently considered a school in the orange zone. And in the document, it says that a certain percentage of students must be tested, which I think was 30% in the document. Students and staff would need to be tested every 2 weeks. That has changed due to the new Monroe County Department of Health and CDC guidelines. We now have to test 10% of our students and staff every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, students and staff will be selected randomly to receive a COVID test if the student returned a consent to test form. If a student did not return a signed consent to test form, they will not be included in any testing. For the students that did, they will be included in the pool for testing. Once a student is tested, they probably won't be tested for quite some time after that, only because if we're doing every 2 weeks, 10% of our students, we have 110 kids. That's about 11 students every 2 weeks and staff. So we should be able to get through everybody. The school nurse and the nursing staff on site will conduct the tests. So when staff and students are selected, they will be called into the nurse's office one at a time, receive their test, which is, I went through the test myself. There was an opportunity in December for staff members in the RSCSD to experience a rapid test. Maybe many of you have also had to do that, but I went ahead and did that because I wanted to be able to express and explain what that feels like. They're basically taking a long cotton swab that's just got a Q-tip at the end, but it's a long stick. And for me, they had the adults go ahead and do it themselves, but with kids, they would do this. It's not the kind where they put the cotton swab way, 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 way deep to like touching the brain kind of feeling for students. It's a shallow 5 swirl in each nostril with that. Then they test that, and usually we get the results quickly. So we are excited that it will be quick. Having experienced myself, it's not painful, at least for me. I can't say that for everyone, but we're hoping that it won't be as traumatic as some of you might think it would be. We hope students will be able to handle that, and we'll make sure that the nurses are very soothing and calm with the children. So again, now that you kind of know what that test looks like, the hybrid kids only will receive a consent to test form. If you would like your child to receive testing in a random fashion, please return that form signed, and your child will be included in the pool of students to choose from to have tested along with staff that's been chosen randomly. So this is something to know though. If we as a school are unable to meet the 10% testing requirement, that means enough students, parents have opted them out of testing, and we don't have enough to meet 11 kids per week, 10%, which I can't imagine would happen, but it is a possibility. If that happened, the school would be forced to close. So it's a percentage of the whole population. If we have 110 kids and we have, 11 kids would be 10%, but most of our students don't sign a consent to test form, and the number grows smaller and smaller for who we can test from every 2 weeks, then that's where that might become an issue. So that's out there, just so you know, but we had a huge amount of parents select yes for consent to testing in December. So while there may be some variations now that the form will be coming out, we do think we will have enough staff and students to meet that number. If 9 total staff and students over the whole period, any period of time, if we have 9 total staff and students test positive over the course of any period of time, again, 2 weeks, a month, whatever that is, the school will close. However, the district pointed out today that over 600 and something kids have been tested in our phase 1 schools and staff members, and only 6 have come up positive, with 2 being something that happened positive outside of the school. So that's really only 4 in person. So that is looking at the numbers, that fares very well, in that it would be very unlikely we would need to close, because it seems as though it's trending. We're getting to 9 total staff and students who've tested positive for COVID in our building. Hopefully will remain very small. However, if we end up with 9 students and staff testing positive, not in the same day, but over any period of time, the school would then close. If a staff member or student is selected for testing, but would rather have the test done elsewhere, at a doctor's office, at a different testing site, that's fine. But they have to provide the school with the results of that test within 7 days. So if you find out your child selected to test the next day, Tuesday, and you call the school and say, nope, I want to take them to their doctor, totally fine. That means by the next Tuesday, you need to have provided us with the results of the test from the doctor, so that we can count that as part of the random testing. So that's fine if you choose to go somewhere else for the test. As of February 8th, if a staff member or a student tests positive for COVID-19, all school staff and parents will receive a letter to inform them that a positive case was reported. It will state in the letter that the Monroe County Department of Health performs investigations on all positive cases of COVID-19 and that contact tracing is underway. A representative from Monroe County will contact you if it's determined that you or your child were exposed. Per federal privacy laws, the district cannot disclose any further details or personal identifiable information about COVID-19 cases. The staff member or student will then quarantine until the Monroe County Health Department releases them from quarantine. Students and staff will not be required to report before February 8th. Just so you know, that means nobody has to test prior to coming to school. No staff or students must test and come out negative before they come to school. Because we will be doing the random testing, that will be done on site in a random fashion. The next question, are they monitoring the emergence of the latest, more contagious strain? All I can say is the district is in direct contact with the Monroe County Health Department and monitoring all COVID-19 cases across the county as well as our schools. That's all I know at this time. The final question, are parents required to tell the school if someone in the household has tested positive or someone in the household has been around someone who has tested positive? If so, how will this be enforced? So great question. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time because this is in the parent handbook. So right here at the top where it says daily health screening and temperature checks at home. Every student should be screened for COVID-19 symptoms before they come to school each day. This includes daily temperature checks. Parents should assess their children daily before they come to school using the questions below. So these are just questions you ask yourself. Have you or your child been in close contact with anyone who has tested positive for COVID-19? Have you tested positive for COVID-19 in the past 14 days for your child? Do you have a temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, your child? Do you have any new or worsening symptoms of COVID-19? That includes fever, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, sore throat, cough, sudden loss of taste or smell, muscle or body aches, headaches, congestion or a runny nose, diarrhea or vomiting. And finally, have you traveled internationally or from a restricted state per the New York State Travel Advisory in the past 14 days? If you answer yes to any one of these questions, or if your child has a temperature greater than 100 degrees, you must notify the school nurse and keep your child home. So the temperature is the biggest thing for our students. If your child has a temperature greater than 100, please call the school and keep your child home. There are going to be kids that just get normal sickness, flu, coughs, runny noses, just regular colds. That is something that you have to consider when you decide whether to send your child or not. So once they arrive at school, I will say the minute they come into the school, and we'll talk about arrival dismissal at next Tuesday's meeting and what that might look like, they will have their temperature checked as soon as they arrive at the school before they go into the classroom. If your child has a 100-degree or higher fever, they will automatically be escorted to the nurse's office, and then the nurse will contact you to come pick up your child. So that's kind of where we are right now. I do recommend that, again, if the PTA officers wouldn't mind sending this form back out, I'm going to post this form this evening after this meeting right on the front page of our school website, which is rcsdk12.org. / and the number 23. I will post that right at the top so you have access to this, but it's also going to be mailed out by the district. I will also put the consent to test form on there in case any of you want to get a head start, print it out, fill it out, and send it to the school. That's totally fine. But this will be, I think, a great resource for you going forward. So for those of you that came in a little later, what I've decided to do is every Tuesday for the next 3 Tuesdays, I will hold a 1-hour Q&A session for parents just like tonight. And I will work with the PTA officers to make sure you have access to the link for those meetings and the meeting ID password. That way you can join us each week. If you have questions, I would appreciate it if you think of them before the meeting starts to send them through email to your PTA officers or directly to the school, because it gives me time to create the answers and find all the information I can to make sure I'm giving you the most current, correct information. So that's just helpful because, as you can see, I was able to give you a lot of information tonight because I had the questions in advance to make sure I had that for you. So please consider doing that. Thank you, Ms. Bonomo. Please consider doing that. And again, this will be, as the questions come in, if there's less and less questions being asked ahead of time, then it will mostly be an open forum to ask questions. And I will do the very best I can to answer them. Please know, as you know, everything in the district, such a large district, parts are moving every minute of every day. And so I want to be sure I'm giving you the best information I can. Please be patient, as there might be some information I don't have exact knowledge of, and I don't want to say something erroneously or in error. and then have to retract that at a later time. I want to be sure I'm giving you the best information I can. So if I can get those questions by Monday to the PTA officers, maybe the Monday right before next Tuesday. So each Monday you can provide me any questions that have been submitted. I can work on those questions. And then again, if there's time left, I can answer further questions. Otherwise, we'll move them to the next Tuesday and so on. So I don't know about you, but I need some water. I hope that was at least an opening for you to give you some specific information about what's coming. I assure you more information is going to be mailed home to you very soon from the district, but also from our school, because our school is a little different. The district gives us the overall plan, but every school has their own way of doing things. How do you arrive? How do you dismiss? What do mask breaks look like? Can we use the playground? What about technology? All of those things will be kind of the focus for me next Tuesday. So I hope you'll attend, because I think that will give you some more information as well beyond these initial questions you have. So with that, I know we have 3 minutes left. I'm just kind of scanning through some of the questions here. I think I've already answered the Monday, Tuesday hybrid days. Teachers getting vaccinated. I'm so glad you asked or said that. So yes, the district sent an email out. Was it just yesterday, Ms. Panomo and other teachers? I believe so. All teachers, administrators, any staff that works in education was received a notification to apply to have the vaccine. So I know myself personally, I applied yesterday. I'm hoping to get my own appointment soon, but teachers, paraprofessionals, support staff, custodians, everyone in the district has received notification that they can now receive the vaccine if they so choose. So yes, that is out there now. If a substitute is needed, how feasible is it for parents to make a choice to keep the student at home rather than coming into school that day? I will be honest, most times we don't know a teacher's going to be absent until that morning of the school day. So it's very difficult to inform parents early. Unless the teacher took it upon themselves to notify their families, they would not be in school that day. Again, for the most part, we're trying to use our in-school staff to support those classrooms. So that's something to think about, but there's not a high likelihood the morning of that we would be able to contact families in time. So if you do know ahead of time, or the teachers notified you ahead of time, then if they know they're going to be absent the next day, they can let their parents know. If they choose, they don't have to, then you could choose to keep your child home and learn remotely. Is UPK going to have the same hours? Yes, they are. No, they're normal hours. Miss Kenyon, are you on by any chance? I'm not sure if she is, but pre-K has their original hours. I'm going to double check on those, because I think the hours for pre-K are 8 o'clock or 8:15 to 2:15, 8 o'clock to 2. It's something around that. It starts after the little babies, but we have no pre-K students doing hybrid in person. All parents chose remote. So the entire pre-K will just continue with remote learning with the new start and end time. And again, Ms. Kenyon will communicate to all her pre-K families what that schedule will look like. So that's coming. How are online kids going to be participating on these hybrid days? Yep. So again, when the teacher's teaching the in-person kids in front of him or her, at the same time, they have their laptop in front of them like they do at home, and they're teaching the kids online. So all the kids in the classroom are facing the teacher and looking at the smartboard where the Zoom session is being projected. So the kids in the class get to see their remote student counterparts, so that makes them feel like they're part of that. And the teacher is teaching using the laptop the same smartboard tools she or he would use with the kids online, and it's displaying on the smartboard behind them to all the kids in the class. So everyone will be able to work simultaneously. It's pretty neat, it's different. So I think we'll be able to do it, but yes, of course it will be different. So we just ask for your patience as we work through. I'm sure there will be lots of kinks in the beginning, but just like with this remote learning, we figured it out, right? So I'm sure we'll be there too. Finally, what if there are, will the kids still wear uniforms? So we recommend that kids wear uniforms if they have them. I will not be enforcing that this year with the current environment we're in. Parents didn't have time to really secure uniforms over the summer. We also can't have all the normal uniform donations we usually get with things coming into the building. So certainly we would love for our students that are in person to wear their uniforms, but there is some flexibility there for the time that we're going to be hybrid. And finally, well, what if there are handouts or things they are working with in class? Yep, there will be. So while some students are doing things online, and we'll talk about technology next Tuesday, because I know we're 1 minute over. I want to honor your time. We'll talk about what technology will and will not look like for hybrid learners. The district, I'll just tell you flat out, does not want kids transporting their Chromebooks to and from school and home. There's a chance they could get damaged. There's a chance they could get lost, left at school or left at home. We want to be sure that on Wednesdays, Thursday, Friday, all students have their Chromebooks at home. So again, Monday, Tuesday, no kids are bringing their devices to school that are hybrid. No kids. They will leave their computers at home. And when they're in school, they're getting face-to-face instruction instead with the teacher. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, those hybrid kids would be using their Chromebooks at home. So that's how that'll look. And I can go into more detail next week. That's a good question. And that answered the next question. So that is it for the evening. I thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy week. We will send out a link for next Tuesday, 6:30 to 7:30 again. So we can feel free to answer, send more questions. We'll try to answer them on the spot if there's not a lot beforehand. I want to be as transparent as possible with each of you because this is new. This is a little scary. It's also a little exciting. It's a little of everything. And we want to be sure each one of you and your children feel good as can be walking into school on February 8th. So I believe communication is everything. That's what's going to help you feel in the know so that you can be making the right decisions for your children. So thank you for attending. I really appreciate you, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.